Content presented in Cheshire Corners is for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult a legal professional if you have any questions or concerns about the content of this disclaimer, this series, or the legal implications surrounding psychedelic substances in your jurisdiction.
99.9%, maybe 100% of the people that are serious in this space, I'll say 100% of the people that are serious in this space have come from a place of personal transformation, and myself included. And something hit me like a ton of bricks, just saying, something's got to change. If I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be having the same experience. And she helped me understand and get a glimpse into the price I was paying for being on SSRI meds. I don't condemn prescription medication. Some people do. If it's working for you and you're okay with the side effects and you're happy, then I was fortunate enough to have some friends in the space who kind of guided me along and opened my eyes to the possibilities. Sometimes I went zero to ayahuasca. Find an industry you're passionate about and serve it.
They're gonna see me from his cameras. Right now, if you see me the way I see right there, I'm very small and I'm in the back and it's hard to see me, but that's not gonna be how on the podcast. I'm gonna be your size. We're gonna be same size, and Jonathan. Welcome to Cheshire Corners. It's great fall day here, sunny day in Colorado, and we have our guest, somebody we know and love already, Greg Shanken. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
You did.
Very cool. And we just recently saw Greg and a whole bunch of his gang on a conference that they did. And I just can't wait to talk to him about it because I think it was total success. And it was the best psychedelic conference I attended. Even it was smaller than MAPS, but you deserved it. You very much deserve it, Greg. It was fantastic. We're going to have a lot of footage coming from that conference. We're going to have separate episodes with all the lessons and I think every one of them was fantastic. All the speakers were great. Crowd was fantastic. Wonderful. Food was wonderful. So I can't wait for you to do it again, but I know it's a lot of work. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got to the point that you created this conference, what kind of work you put into it.
Sure. So I can start with the conference, and then that'll probably lead to a lot of other territory in my journey. But the conference was called Collaborence, and it was a collaboration between Colorado Psychedelic Society, of which I'm a co-founder, and PATA, which is the Psilocybin-Assisted Therapy Association, based in Oregon. And PATA did this event, Collaborance, last year in Portland, and then this year invited us to participate. And it was a really wonderful setup because on Saturday of the event was online, so that was open to anyone in the world. And then Sunday, as you participated in Rita, we had our event in Boulder. And then simultaneously, Collaborance was also running in Portland. So it was just a really cool way for the two legal states to celebrate what we're doing locally, but also each other and the growing number of states where psilocybin is legal. New Mexico being number 3. So potentially next year we'll add New Mexico to the list for this amazing conference.
Very cool. And maybe next year you can put little like a Zoom video where we can all be at the same time. We will be physically in Colorado, but virtually with everybody who joined.
Yes. That was actually on the list, but I'm glad you pointed out in your intro how hard it is to do these conferences. So that was on the wish list. And next year, and now I'm holding myself accountable to you, Rita. We're going to do that. So you heard it here. Committing to doing that. Yes.
Very cool. And we're here to help. So we have resources that we can help you with all the setup and everything else that you need. Because it was great. And if you guys, all of our viewers, if you're looking for psychedelic community, which we are, we think that we really cannot be happy in this life without community. And all us who think that the world is a little bit more than just what we kind of set up from the childhood to see, and there is a glimpse of something bigger, and maybe we are part of one or whatever else. Everybody's in psychedelic community thinking. You're looking for people who's like-minded people to spend your time with, to collaborate, to talk, to move the business together, to enjoy time off. And that community exists. And that community is in Boulder? Tell us more about it. How do you guys meet? What's happening there?
Yes. So thank you for your comments about community. And that's such an important part of the psychedelic movement, because as you so eloquently pointed out, we do need to connect with like-minded people. And it really, 99.9%, maybe 100% of the people that are serious in this space, I'll say 100% of the people that are serious in this space have come from a place of personal transformation, and myself included. And we can get into that story if that makes sense. But in terms of community, that's why we founded Colorado Psychedelic Society, and we founded it after the legislation passed, Prop 122 in November 22, and it passed by, in today's lens, a landslide, 53 to 47%. That's pretty much a landslide if you look at other elections. And after the bill passed, we wanted to do exactly that, create a community to provide awareness, education, and friendships and community around the responsible use of psychedelics. And it was pretty amazing how it unfolded, because it's a nonprofit, all volunteer organization. And back then we said, let's just put this up on Meetup and hopefully people will find us. And people started finding us rather quickly to our, it made us happy, let's put it that way. And, excuse me. And we've grown now to 1,500 members. And so really the goal, before I continue, so these societies exist all over the world. There are over 250 societies, and even including the Global Psychedelic Society, which serves as not a governing body, but a support organization, because every society operates independently. And the Global Psychedelic Society, or GPS, provides guidance, even a handbook for folks who want to start their own society, membership platform, and all kinds of resources. Because so CPS is a community, and then the societies also form a community. So GPS is a community of communities. And so CPS, we have events, and it might be anything from a potluck dinner just to hang out, or a hike, or events like you attended, our Collaborence event, Rita, smaller events, get-togethers, even things like grow your own mushroom workshops. And now, with more resources, or as we generate more resources, the goal is to really up-level the events that we're doing, more quantity and quality and diversity, because there are so many topics around psychedelics, whether it's psychedelics for addiction, end of life, anxiety, depression, or even just, as you pointed out, just raising our consciousness, spirituality. So psychedelics gets a lot of attention, deserved, in the mental health space, because that's really the lever that can push this movement forward, because of the mental health epidemic that we have in this country, and PTSD, especially in the veteran community. And so it should get, the lion's share of the attention, but sometimes what's not talked about as much is how psychedelics can be used for spirituality, raising consciousness. And so anyway, there's no shortage of topics around which to have really amazing events. It's simply a matter of time, resources, and one of the resources is funding. So, but those are some of our goals moving forward, just to really up level and expand what we're doing.
So how people can find you? Is it a meetup? Or there's a website? How people can find you?
Yeah, there is a website, and it's psychedelic-society.org. And on that page, so I'll say it again, psychedelic-society.org. On that page is a link to our meetup. And so that's the easiest way. Right now, membership is free. And I say right now, maybe it will stay that way. Other societies sometimes decide to have paid memberships, and maybe we'll do that too. But right now, just for anyone listening, as of today, October 9th, membership is free. So come on in.
That's very cool. So I'll definitely follow you on meetups, and maybe anywhere to like your pages. We will try to like the social media pages and meet you in person and meet everybody else. Is it in Boulder? Those meetups usually happen in Boulder?
Usually in Boulder. Let me think. Have we done? I think we've done a couple of like hikes in the Denver area. So yeah, it's call it the front range between Boulder and Denver.
That's very cool. So, guys, please go and check it all out. Please also like our channel and subscribe to it. Today we have 987 subscribers. So we are 17 subscribers short of being 1,000. Please help us out. And hopefully by the time this video is going to be published, we're already going to have 1,000. We're growing.
Yes. Rooting for you. Let's get you to 1,000 today. Let's do it.
Let's do it today. Very cool. So tell me a little bit more. You said that the way society is working, is that kind of like a franchise approach?
Not necessarily. I mean, most societies are nonprofit, some are for-profit. There's no territory, so to speak. Theoretically, somebody else could say, we're the Colorado Psychedelic Society. So there's, it's very fragmented. I don't say that in a bad way, just that, each society is doing its own thing in its own area, but getting the support of the GPS, Global Psychedelic Society. So, yeah, that's how I would describe it.
And how does the GPS Global Society helps you?
So there is a membership platform. So it's a community in and of itself. So we can meet and connect with other societies around the world. And GPS provides webinars every 2 weeks, and sometimes even additional ones in between. And they provide we can always go to the GPS with a question, and either they'll have the answer, they can point us in the right direction to another society that might be doing, that might have good resources, based on the need. So that's really what they're doing is kind of providing the glue between the societies.
Very cool. Okay, so I heard while I was at your conference that you planning to become facilitator.
Yes.
Is that true? Yeah.
That's a true rumor. That's true.
So with that, maybe start and give us a little bit of your story and how did you decide to become facilitator?
Sure. So I think it probably makes sense to go back a bit, about 5 years, of how I came into this space in the first place. And as I mentioned in the opening, that's really where it starts for anyone who's really serious in this space. And so at that point, my knowledge of psychedelics, and this generally sounds cliche, doing mushrooms in college and seeing the Grateful Dead, and I'm still a big Grateful Dead fan. So that wasn't just a college thing, but I always had great experiences with mushrooms recreationally and cannabis and some others. But at that time, I didn't really know the medicinal or therapeutic benefits of these medicines. Even if someone said medicine back then, I would have said, huh? What are you talking about? I'm just, here to have fun and see some music. And that's all good. I celebrate that for anyone who uses psychedelics recreationally, safely. That's awesome. But in terms of my personal transformation, started about 5 years ago, and I had been on SSRI medication for about 12 years. And I had a wake-up call, a big wake-up call. And I remember it so clearly. I don't remember where I was sitting. It was at my home office. And it just kind of, something hit me like a ton of bricks, just saying, something's got to change. If I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be having the same experience. And most of it was related to my career. I am so blessed to have a soulmate as a wife and a beautiful family, and I live in Boulder, and I'm physically healthy and wonderful parents. So many blessings. And yet, ... something just didn't feel right. I just wasn't feeling passion in my career. I've owned a web development agency for 12 years, and I still do. But I wasn't feeling any joy in it. And a big part of that was because I was not passionate about the industry I was serving. And if you asked me what industry were you serving, I'd say any business that came along and wanted a website. And that's not really an industry. Of course, then the next kind of business tip is find an industry you're passionate about and serve it. And I wasn't feeling any passion about anything. So that led me back into therapy. And it was IFS, Internal Family Systems, sometimes known as parts therapy. At that time, I didn't even know what that was. And the ironic thing about that is that my parents are retired therapists, and IFS is fairly new on the scene as a therapeutic modality. So they hadn't even heard of it. That's not to disparage them. They were retired. And, so in one of the first sessions, and at this point I was still on my meds, my therapist asked me, Greg, when you're, feeling an emotion, where do you feel this emotion in your body? And I looked at her like she had three heads. I didn't get it. The question didn't make sense. It just didn't compute. And that's because I wasn't feeling anything in my body. However, I didn't even know that was a thing besides a pure, physical pain or physical feeling. And so that was a huge wake-up call for me, and she helped me understand and get a glimpse into the price I was paying for being on SSRI meds. And whenever I share this, I always then say I don't condemn prescription medication. Some people do. If it's working for you and you're okay with the side effects and you're happy, then I am so genuinely happy for you. But for me personally, I saw the price I was paying, being disembodied, not feeling. And so that led me down a path of learning how psychedelics could potentially be a resource. I was fortunate enough to have some friends in the space who kind of guided me along and opened my eyes to the possibilities. And that led me to my first medicine retreat, which was ayahuasca. So I kind of joked sometimes. I went zero to ayahuasca.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't.
You just had
what happened?
Had that elevator that only had two buttons, first floor and 100th floor.
Yeah, that's a good one. And you might hear me saying that on another podcast, but I'll give you credit. That's great. I love that one. Yes. Yeah, of course, there are many pathways into a psychedelic journey, and ayahuasca is a rather intense one, but it's the one I chose. And for safety reasons, you have to be off certain medications, SSRIs being one of them, which I'm sure you know for your audience. And so I had tried twice previous to that to titrate off the meds with very bad results. My depression would come roaring back. This was before I was on the psychedelic path. This time, however, two things were different. One is that I had a goal and a date and something I was very committed to, which was the ayahuasca retreat. The other is that I microdosed psilocybin to help me with that transition off the meds. And it was very helpful to have that. And an amazing thing happened in those 3 weeks, the 3 weeks of titration before the retreat. I cried. I cried twice. And once was an emotional movie, and once was listening to a song. And it was like, wow. It was wild. Because previous to that, in the previous 10, 12 years, I cried, and this is not an exaggeration. The number of times I cried was the number of funerals I had attended, which fortunately was not that many. So a funeral would, in other words, that kind of shows how disembodied I was, or how numb I was. A funeral, yes, I would cry, but that was pretty much it. So it was already, I guess the point there is things were already starting to release and open up for me just in those 3 weeks. And then that led into the retreat itself. I could speak a lot about that, but also that might cause me to speak for a very long time. So I'll give you the high notes, and then you can, peel the onion back if you like, because it does speak to kind of how I got to right here in this moment, right now. So I came out of that retreat, just completely fascinated by what just happened, which was completely transformational, scary, fun, eye-opening. And then, a common word in this space is ineffable, which means impossible to put into words. The funny thing about that word, as an aside, Rita, is if you ask most people what the word ineffable means, they don't know what it means. So it's kind of funny that the word that means words can't describe, a lot of people don't know the meaning of that word. But it was ineffable, although I gave you some, kind of touch points around it. But I came out of that just fascinated. I started devouring books, podcasts. This was during COVID, attending virtual meetup groups around the country, which were still happening, and learning and feeling passion. So when I came out of that, it was like, okay, yep, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to serve this space, or maybe not how I want to serve this space, but that I want to serve this space. And at that time, the best vehicle for that was my web dev agency, which I still own and serves many amazing clients in this space. But what that led to then was the summer of 22, becoming an ambassador for Proposition 122, aka the Natural Medicine Health Act. So this was 4 or 5 months before the election. And I started getting involved to get out the vote efforts and sharing my story publicly for the first time, which was definitely outside my comfort zone. First time was at a fundraiser in my house, about 20 feet from here, 40 people there, about half friends and family. And I went up there and just opened up and didn't hold back and was vulnerable, and it was very well received, but very hard. But it was healing, and being here right now is healing, part of my healing and integration. So I'm grateful for that, and any opportunity to share my story. And so that led to the bill passing, co-founding CPS. I went on 2 other ayahuasca retreats that year, and without going into too much detail, unless we have time and you want to take me there, about a month after each retreat, my depression would come back. Slowly at first, and then kind of gaining steam. Very hard, disappointing. I did not expect my first retreat to be a one and done, or a silver bullet, or you're all set for life. Drink lemonade and puppy dogs and ice cream. That's from the movie Swingers. But it sucks when it happens. And that's what was happening for me. But so back to kind of the pathway here. And so from there, so many things unfolded, Rita. I started providing business, web, and marketing training for psychedelic training schools. So I promise I'll weave this back to your question of how I'm now going to become a facilitator. And so that was one big milestone that continues to this day. Many of these training programs do a wonderful job of training aspiring facilitators, but then they don't necessarily include the business marketing part. So students graduate, and I know you're a business person, right? And so am I. Many people coming into this are not. And then they say, now what? What's next? Or psychedelics is gaining so much steam and popularity. People are going to be banging down my door. No. Right. So I provide training around that to help those students. And I come at it from a place of what you see on my hat, empathy. And so what I mean by that is, and is it okay that I'm kind of getting into this detail about, okay, cool. So I'll meet a healer or a therapist or an aspiring facilitator, and so many people in this space who, and that's what makes these conferences so much fun, is you just meet wonderful people, almost every single person you meet. You meet them and you're like, you're amazing, you're compassionate, you're heart-centered, you're wonderful, I like you. You're a facilitator? Wow, I could definitely see how you're going to help people. And then I'll go to that person's website, and it takes 20 seconds to load, and the headline doesn't resonate with me or tell me how it's going to help me, and there are broken links and typos, and it's very hard to schedule an appointment, and any number of other things that create friction. Friction meaning that prospective client is saying, not so sure. And that's a big deal. So that empathy that I feel from that person is not reflected in their online brand. And that gap right there, I call the empathy gap, because that empathy that you have, that prospective client needs to feel that from your website or social or however they came upon you, learned about you. So a lot of what I do in the training is around that mindset. And then we get into specific strategies and tactics. Do this, don't do that. And a lot of them are low cost, no cost. These facilitators can take with them and implement. So that's one of my projects. And so, as I got into this year, really a light bulb went on when I did a panel in January where we, CPS, invited all of the training programs that are certified in the state of Colorado through their regulated model. And we invited all of them to attend, showcase their training, give them 7 minutes to showcase their program. And then we invited our members. So it was a really wonderful way for people to learn about these programs. And I moderated that panel. And it kind of lit a little bit of a spark, enough so that I started meditated on it. And it just one of those things that kind of like, okay, here, I just started paying attention to it, to the point where I then made the decision that I would want to go in this direction. And I joined the Inner Trek program, which is absolutely wonderful. Can't recommend it highly enough. There's so many other good programs. This is the one I chose. I saw my teacher at Collaborence. That was amazing. We hugged. It was awesome. And so, there's lots of other things along the way, obviously. But it all started with 5 years ago saying something's got to change, to a whole series of events that led to my pursuing this path.
That's so cool. Thank you for sharing the story of Greg. We will definitely include it in Psychedelic Bible we're writing. So the one thing I'm still confused in your story, so help me to understand. You said every time you went to retreat, about a month, you had symptoms coming back. So how did you deal with it? So what actually helped you eventually, if any?
Yes, that is a great question. So after the third retreat, a month after, same thing. And this happened to be right around the time of the close to the election at this point. And just as a marker to kind of really illustrate how challenging this was, the day the bill passed, which was about 4 days after the election, I was in bed, depressed, feeling like crap. And I got the news that the bill passed. And my mind knew that was great. But that didn't at all help my depression. And so my father, who I mentioned is a therapist, describes depression in a really profound way. And he says that depression is like looking outside on a beautiful day. Your mind knows it's beautiful because it's sunny and blue sky and birds and butterflies, but you're wearing sunglasses. So you're seeing darkness, but your mind knows it's a beautiful day. So my mind knew election, hallmark legislation, really life-changing, generation-changing, hopefully society-changing. I won't say hopefully, it is changing society. This bill passed, and meanwhile I'm still feeling like shit. So that just is people who struggle with depression, they'll get it. They'll get it. So what did I do? That last 3 months of 2022 we're talking about, my intuition told me not to go back to ayahuasca, not at all because I didn't believe in it. I've gotten so much from that medicine, for sure. And at no point did I ever regret doing ayahuasca, doubting it and saying I should, this was my journey, and it meant I had more work to do. That's what it meant. And so those last 3 months were the lowest point in my life. If 10 is ultimate happiness and 0 is suicidal, I was at a 1. So suicidal thoughts sometimes, never ideation or making a plan. So I was never actually unsafe, but black hole, really, really, really bad. I start to get emotional when I even talk about it, which is okay. So I decided to go a different path. And in 2023, I started using ketamine. And it's right after the new year. I went to a clinic where I did intramuscular ketamine, IM. And for listeners, it's doing a heavy dose of ketamine. And it's done in most cases. You do what's called an induction series, so that's 6 sessions in 2 weeks, and then you can go up to as often as every 3 weeks after. And that's what I did for 2 years. But after that first session, I walked out with a lift, just feeling better, just some relief. And it became very apparent to me how ketamine can save lives. Because you can walk in suicidal and walk out not. And again, I didn't walk in suicidal, but pretty close. And I know enough and heard enough, and anecdotally in research studies that's the case. So, I started using ketamine, going every 3 to 4 weeks for 2 years. 2 years. So I'm a big believer in ketamine. It's an amazing medicine. Not here to say it's better or worse than ayahuasca. It's another medicine. But continued. An interesting thing happened. After my induction series, I was feeling so great, and I woke up literally the weekend after that 6th session, and a new challenge, a new challenge happened, which is a good friend, anxiety. And it's not that I never struggled with anxiety, but depression was my thing. And my learning there was that the depression was masking anxiety. And also, so many people say that anxiety and depression are kind of 2 sides of the same coin. And I really do get that. They can kind of go back and forth. But this meant that then became my work, continue working with my anxiety. And so ketamine continued to help, stayed in therapy. I'm still in therapy to this day. And started working through the anxiety. And after 2 years, so now we're talking end of 24, I just reached a point with ketamine where I felt like I took it as far as it could go for me. After all the benefits, it was just like, I wanted to go a different path. That's kind of the best way to explain it, as grateful as I am for the benefits of ketamine. And so, I can pause, or I can just quickly say what that led me to was Bufo, 5-MeO DMT, which I've done twice this year.
No, you could keep going. The one thing that I want to kind of chat with you about as somebody who been at the same place that I were. We kind of traveled the same dark places together, maybe separately, but still got to the same place at one point of our lives. I had it twice. The way I'm thinking now, and it's always changing also as I'm going through those discoveries, but it feels to me that what helps, and I'm on accessorize, and I'm just reduced my dose a couple months ago twice, but I'm on accessorize right now. And so there's few things that I learned from my depression. One thing that it's probably the worst place you can ever go. I don't think any torture can get even closer to this. Second thing, that you're coming out of it with a lot of energy. It's like you go into the dark hole, and when you're getting out of it, you're actually coming with a lot of energy with you. Another thing that if we can kind of start feeling like you were prompted to feel where you feel emotions, what part of your body, if you can kind of start thinking about where was it, where my depression started, where was it, where's my soul? Like soul, people described it was in their gut, right? For longest time, before they said it's heart. Heart is much further than the gut. Heart is just the muscle that pumping blood. Gut actually has serotonin going through this, so there's more to gut than to the heart. Then people saying that it's brains, and people saying that it's outside of us, right? But where is it? We start feeling things a little by little if we allow ourselves to listen and to start feeling. And we're kind of peeling the onion a little bit. Like, my job is not where I want it to be. And then peel the onion. What is my job? Is it defines me? Is it who I am? Peeling it more. Who am I here? Am I a human that randomly came to this earth, or maybe I'm part of something bigger? And if it's this something bigger, then peeling more. What was there before? What exists? What is an existence? What is a consciousness? And then coming back from that, what is my job? Does it make any sense anymore? Who cares what is your job? You already went to the soul and consciousness, and so far out of what you started with that all your anxiety came from nothing. And it's very hard to discipline ourselves, because I think we were all hypnotized since childhood, and even before through epigenetics. We're hypnotized to see the world the way it is. And we're trying to fit into this world, and it doesn't fit anymore. And that's why so many people, I think, in depression right now, and so much turbulence in the world, because it just doesn't fit anymore. We know that this is not as simple as planets and galaxies. That was complicated at one point, but now it seems simple, because how would you explain quantum mechanics? How would you explain everything else? The world doesn't fit to the picture anymore. So I think every time we're helping ourselves with any kind of substances, versus this SSRIs or ketamine or psilocybin or DMT or whatever else, we're trying to get to the level of this understanding. What is there? And manage our life from top down from that point. That's why I'm trying to, this is at least, in my journey, that's where I am right now. I'm trying to figure this out. So you remember movie Limitless? At the end, he figured out how to go without drugs. So I think whichever substance you're using, if it helps, that's fantastic. It helps you to get out of the black hole that you got there, and out of the kind of reality that doesn't fit anymore. And you trying to understand and build this reality. You're just not comfortable in your skin, just like lobster is not comfortable with their skin. And getting out of it, or whatever, it's maybe not lobster or some other creature, but I remember it's very painful to break that cocoon, because everything that you learn and understand, basic things, they're not there anymore. Something else is. And as we opening up to it, embracing it, and taking it with curiosity, I think it makes life so brightful and excited, but it's a very difficult process. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Thank you. I mean, literally, as you were going, I'm saying yes. I hope I remember to reflect on that. Yep. But most of all, thank you. And your listeners will thank you for sharing a bit of your story and being vulnerable and sharing your struggles. I mean, that's, you could kind of take away everything we talked about, but that goes back to community. When others can hear our struggles and they know they're not alone, especially with depression where you really feel alone and isolated. But so much of what you said resonated. Peeling back the onion, not feeling comfortable in our skin. And this really resonates with me, excuse me, that we are not our careers, we are not our jobs, right? I mean, and that's something that in our modern world is a challenge to reconcile, which 10,000 years ago was not a thing. Just wasn't a thing. And now, excuse me, we're in a westernized, colonialized, commercialized, capitalized world. We can complain about that or be upset about that, but the best way is to make peace with it. I'm not saying I've mastered that, but now that I kind of see through that lens, it's easier for me to make peace with it. But back to my story, my epiphany was not feeling passion in my career. It was based on career and money and financial success and all that stuff that, we need dollars to pay our bills, but that's a lot different than rooting our identity in those areas. And I think that's some of what you were speaking to.
So with ketamine and our company Almadelic providing online ketamine, and that's what we were talking with Eric Zelfand, our medical advisor, and there's 72 hours, actually more like 48 hours after every ketamine session. The neuroplasticity gets as high as it gets, and during that time, it's really important to think what is there, what is behind the curtain, what kind of a glimpse we can get of something that make us feel as a part of this much bigger thing, of the new reality that's shaping in front of our eyes. This is interesting time to live. It's very challenging, but it's extremely interesting time to live because things are shaping up as we speak. And shaping up quickly. It's a weird thing. Psychedelic industry is going extremely slow, but the world developing extremely fast. It's so cool.
Yeah, and when we're in the bubble that we live in, by bubble I mean we live and breathe psychedelics, so we see all these, conferences and legalization and Oprah talking about psychedelics. All those are great things. So we might one might say, wow, it's moving so fast. This industry is exploding. And in certain ways it is, and it's certainly increasing at a much more rapid rate than 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 40 years ago, or 60 years ago, when those psychedelics became illegal from our wonderful President Nixon back then. And so we can be in that bubble. So it's important to be realistic about where things are, where they're going, the challenges that lay ahead. I was on the Saturday online event for Collaborence. I was on a panel and it was a facilitator, and he said kind of what I said in the beginning. He became licensed and he thought, hey, okay, my practice is going to be full tomorrow. And now he's seeing the reality. And I don't say that to be pessimistic or throw water on people's enthusiasm or excitement, but this is the reality, and so people working in the space have to be aware of that. So it's a challenge, and then you have, it's kind of echoing on your comments about an interesting time to be alive. It certainly is. So we have psychedelics, we have artificial intelligence, and then we have, not to sound, I don't know, I'll just say it. We have dark forces at work that are, and that's part of humanity, dark forces, but they seem to be increasing in intensity, and we see that just with everything happening in our country and the world, leading to mental health epidemic and so many other problems. So I'm not saying I have the answer, and this is a bit sort of existential, but it's like psychedelics, AI, and lots of dark, scary stuff happening. So, is that a coincidence? Is that the universal plan? I don't know. Do you know?
No, but I remember that Einstein said that darkness is the absence of light. So maybe we just need to work on getting that light a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
Every day, every conference at a time. With all the hugs, with all the hikes, with building community here. And I'm just hope that every little candle of light will bring together the lightness that will overcome the dark.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you again, see you more. I will go to Meetup more and find all your events. I'll try to join as many as I can and inviting everybody. It's a great new inviting community where you can hug people that like-minded people, that you can challenge them and you can collaborate. Thank you so much, Greg, for coming. Welcome again to Cheshire Corners, and please remember, 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, so close. Would it be okay if I just share my personal website for anyone who
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's Greg Shanken, GregShanken. I am involved in other projects, so go there, and that's the launch off point to some of the other cool things I'm doing in the space. So thank you so much for having me, Rita. This was really fun.
Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please like and subscribe to Cheshire Corners. Tell me what you think in the comments. And as always, don't get psyched out.